Good morning, everybody. It is Shakti here, and this is a live stream on the theme of the sacred body of woman. And I'm going to be talking live this morning with Gayatri Claire Beegan, who is a long-standing friend, sister, peer of mine. I've known her for at least 10 years, I think, and we go back quite a long way, and we've had very similar journeys actually in terms of connecting in with sacred sexuality, Tantra, Osho, the spiritual quest, and the body. So Gayatri is a deeply wise woman, a woman of great integrity and devotion, and I'm excited, and I'm a little bit nervous about this conversation as well, not because of Gaia, but just because I can kind of feel the, as I was just tuning in before this now, just really feeling the immensity, the importance of how we say what we say and what we say. I have no idea what's going to unfold in this conversation, so I'm open to the unknown and just really kind of ask for guidance, and that this conversation will be really fruitful for all who listen in now or afterwards on catching up. So I'm just going to bring Gaia on camera. Let's see, where are you, Gaia? You're back up here somewhere. I'm going to bring you on to camera, and just going to her to come on screen.
Yeah.
You are.
Readjust my chair position again.
I was trying to get my background in. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're here. We can see.
Great, and thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Yeah, I was just as we were sort of both sitting in our separate places and just sort of meditating in, tuning in, connecting into my body, I was like, wow. It feels like such an important thing to speak to. I feel responsible. Yeah. So thank you for being here and welcome. I said a little bit of a, hang on, there's something on my screen. I said a little bit of a blah about you, Gaia. But would you like to introduce yourself for people who are watching? Just say briefly who you are, what you do.
Yeah, great, thank you. So I feel like I've been on a journey of self-exploration and spirituality from when I was very, very young. Actually, I grew up in a very Catholic, religious environment, but I felt this inner calling in myself. That a lot of what I was hearing in that space and what I was being taught did not sit well for me, and I felt that there was something else that I needed to explore and experience. So this took me on a path of meditation and self-inquiry, which finally led me to the door of the Guru Osho, whose teachings opened me to a whole world of spirituality that was deeply connected to the body, embodied practice, embodied awareness, and one that was rooted in celebration and aliveness. So not about kind of mind-oriented attention and concentration and focus and clearing the mind, but one that was that moved through the body. And initially I found that very challenging, actually. I was kind of like, this is not a real spirituality, because I had all these ideas of what spirituality would look like. But I came to realize that actually that was what I had been seeking the whole time, an approach to our spiritual life that actually allows you to be you. That this is the experience, that you are the experience, that you are life moving through. And so that drew me very much to the teachings of Tantra. And in the last 7 years or so, I've been working as a sacred sexuality practitioner. Everything just kind of suddenly came together for me around energy, aliveness, the spiritual practices that I've been doing, and working with people really in the body. Because I feel that when we connect with the body itself, all our ideas of how we should be or what should be happening in life start to drop away, and we start to develop an intimate relationship with what is, what truly is for us in the moment. And this runs counter to so many ideas about how we need to be in the world and what we should be doing and how we should be showing up. But when we've connected with that within our own body and felt the realness of it for ourselves, I think it offers us the potential to start living life in a completely new way, one which is in total integrity with our being, because it comes from the feeling, sensing space of who we are, moment to moment. And a few years ago, I was basically really invited by people to start teaching what I was offering in private sessions and what I was speaking about. I never intended to be running a Tantra massage training, but it really felt like life invited me, people invited me, and it just kept growing and evolving. And I followed the cosmic breadcrumbs that were taking me on a trail of my vocation, basically, my calling. I didn't know what I was creating, but I followed the signs, I followed the invitations, and now I find myself as the kind of founder and leader of an amazing community of heart-centered beings who are really longing to form a deeper connection to themselves, a deeper connection to one another, and a deeper connection to the divine and the great mystery that moves through us all.
Oh, wow, beautiful. You're so articulate when you speak about it. It's just so clear that you are living this. And yeah, you've kind of said everything that needs to be said as an introduction, really. I want to ask, it's kind of interesting because I'm sitting here as you're talking, like stroking my own body. Have you always had this connection and the fascination with the body yourself? Like, I'm curious, like now, obviously you're the founder of the Tantra Massage Training School, you're deeply immersed in this. You're speaking from a place of embodied wisdom and knowing and this great passion. Have you yourself had to kind of overcome any issues or barriers with your own body as a woman?
Okay, yeah, great question, thank you. I feel very blessed, actually, that I've always had a positive relationship with my body. And I think when I was very young, I started dancing. And my parents sent me to ballet classes and things like that. And I just had this love of movement, basically, and a natural expression that was given space to come out and was appreciated. Yeah, so many people, I think, when they're young, have this natural expression, but they get edited or kind of told not to do things, and they shut it down. But I was really given the space to enjoy that. And alongside my sister, Gayatri, who you also know very well, who's my, partner in crime and love and joy in so many areas of life. When we were very young, we taught ourselves massage. Our parent, it was like the 70s, and our parents had this book about massage, and we just kind of learned from what was there. And so when we were very young, we would give one another a back massage at bedtime, for example. So touch was always a part of our life. It was something that we had an awareness around from an early age, and we developed a very natural relationship to it. So again, one of the things that I see is many people, as they grow older, the opportunities for touch and contact and affection become removed from their life. And so then touch becomes very over-sexualized, or comes with a lot of fear and apprehension, or a lack of awareness of how to do it that becomes a barrier. But from an early age, I had this very natural relationship to touch. And so, you know, if I was with friends, I'm a very tactile person. I would often, you know, be giving people shoulder rubs or head massages and things like that. So it was really a feature of my life. And I think through these things, I just had a healthy sense, a healthy relationship to my own body. I think those experiences allowed me to cultivate that sort of awareness. And it's interesting because I would say for most of my life, I'm quite a curvy woman, a kind of voluptuous figure. And many women, you know, kind of go on extensive diets and try to fit themselves into a particular mode. But my place has always been, well, you know, we've only got one body in this lifetime, so we may as well love it as we are. That was the emergency line in case we had problems there. Yeah,
that's so weird. My phone never rings.
Yeah, we've got this one body. Let's love it as it is. And as I grew older, I realised actually what a gift that was to people, to be able to hold that space of I love myself as I am. And that when I started coming into more sexual relations and encounters, primarily with men, I realised I had this inhibition about me, a kind of freedom in myself, because I wasn't worried about, is my belly too round, are my thighs too big? I was like, here I am, you know. And you know, many people would tell me, wow, you know, you're so free in yourself, you're so uninhibited. And I'd be thinking, well, how could you be any other way? But over time, I've realised that actually this is a big area of growth for many people to come into that loving awareness and connection with themselves. And I really believe with all of this work, this is where it starts. It starts with you and how you relate to yourself. And when you've really connected with that, then you can share yourself with another.
Oh yeah. So right, what you said about what in modeling that in complete authenticity in your own being, it's so liberating for everyone else in your field. And yeah, I want to say, I'm going to ask you a little bit, but I want to say a little bit about that too, actually, which is that I grew up again with a very similar, totally at home in my physical body, like it just so innately in and loving being sensual and physical. But then interestingly for me, when I got to puberty, I moved to the UK from Germany being very liberal culture, physically, sexually, like no hang-ups about nudity, the body at all. Coming to the UK, full of hang-ups and full of repression about the body and sexuality. And having the experience, which I talk a little bit about in my Awakening Shakti course, of the experience then of being objectified from a very young age, out on the streets, just wolf whistles, comments about the physical body coming at me from all over the place. And all of a sudden that at-homeness in my body and in my who I was just completely flipping into deep insecurities and feelings like there was something wrong with my body, that I wasn't pretty enough, that I wasn't beautiful, that I had a fat bum, that, you know, all these things. Yeah. and then seeing that actually reflected in many women and young girls around me throughout my life. and even now I have a 15-year-old daughter, and it's still a familiar story now, this kind of shame of the body, shame of the body's natural functions, smells, liquids, hairs, you know, inhibition, wanting to repress what is naturally there, and sort of judging it for not being good enough, judging the body for not measuring up to some ideal or some standard, which is, I like to use the word manufactured, because it's not, it's an ideal that's bears no relation to who or what we actually are. So I wanted to bring that in as well, just for any woman who's watching, to kind of just say that I also, in my work, and I'm sure you do too, I'm going to ask you more about this, bring an understanding of that as being quite a common experience. So yeah, I'm kind of wondering which way to go with this. I guess I want to ask you, yeah, in terms of your experience, you work deeply with women and men, but I'm going to sort of focus at the moment on women, women's bodies. What have you observed? What have you witnessed? What have you seen as being common sort of barriers to connecting with this beautiful body, this soul vessel?
Yeah.
In your work.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I love and really resonate with everything that you've shared there. And I think for me, one of the challenges that comes through for many women is actually a sense that that we can own our own bodies, yeah, and own our own experience of our bodies. So I think one of the things that happens to many women, particularly in puberty, is that their body kind of becomes externalized to them, partly through this manufacturing. I love the use of that word because something like artificial sounds is very judgmental, but manufactured, yeah, that there's a certain way that one must present in order to be acceptable, to be seen as an attractive woman. This curious thing where women are kind of encouraged to appear very sexually available through dress and through makeup and so on, yet are not really encouraged to actually explore their sexuality and their sexual energy in themselves. So we've still got this incredibly contradictory space where women are expected to be very sexual beings on the outside, but lacking any awareness of how to be a sexual being on the inside. And it feels like that women's bodies are kind of up for grabs in all kinds of ways, whether it's through the comments on how a woman is visually. So this is one of the, you know, it's one of the main ways to cut a woman down or to control her, is to speak about her appearance. Now, you know, I'm not going to say I'm a great fan of Theresa May, but it's fascinating to see how many people, their go-to of her is her appearance, her dress, her movement. Nobody would say that about a male politician, but because she's a woman, she's up for grabs for that kind of comment. And this also, you know, goes further on the spectrum in terms of our physical space being invaded by unwanted touch, even, you know, unwanted looks, the wolf whistles, all of this kind of stuff. There's an invasion, an encroachment on the female body on many, many levels. And this gets in the way of a woman truly feeling in her sovereignty, in her empowerment, because it's literally not safe to be in the female body sometimes. So women kind of pop out of that, they escape from it, and they're not fully present in their own being. And so when we're not fully present in our own being, it's actually really difficult to connect with your sensuality, with your aliveness, and with your pleasure. And so this creates a split, a dichotomy in many women, where on the outside, And in terms of where they want to be in their minds, they want to be sexually activated, to feel more pleasure. They want to experience all the things that they're reading on the magazines or hearing about. But because they're not actually inhabiting their body, because it's kind of owned by the media or the last person who made a horrible comment to them, it's not actually possible to do that. And so I see part of my work, and one of the real gifts that comes through Tantra massage, is a space for a woman to reclaim ownership of her body and to become the owner and the navigator of her experience. And when you stand in that place, then really, you know, the world of pleasure is your oyster.
Yes. Oh, yes. Beautiful. Totally with you. And just before I scribbled down just a couple of notes, and I've put ownership, and then you say ownership, and also like the way that you talked about externalization, and that is such an important phrase. I really totally with you. In my own experience, again, also working with women almost exclusively for 16 years, that's what I see again and again and again. And also it's what I experience myself, and that's part of been my journey of there's kind of been this cut off, this disconnect from being fully sovereignly aligned in integrity in my whole being, body, soul, spirit, sexuality, everything. For a long time, it's been living outside me, thinking that my lovers are responsible for my pleasure, thinking that my lovers are there to do something to me, thinking that my lovers are there to give me an orgasm, thinking that whether I'm considered beautiful or not by somebody, whoever, gives me my value or not. So placing my value on someone else's judgment, even though that judgment is based on some ridiculous notion of beauty that's been rustled up by companies who want to sell a lot of products to, you know, address our insecurities of like having a little wrinkle or, you know, something, which is ridiculous. But it's a huge industry that feeds on this insecurity and perpetuates this externalization of identity, this externalization of our power.
Yes.
And again, also seeing that, of course, how can we fully open to the pleasure that we're capable of? How can we actually fully be in our power as women if that's outside, if that locus of power and of being is not here? Because of course pleasure requires opening, it requires surrender, it requires trust and a sense of safety, which we have to kind of first start with within, and then also holding of, you see, it's quite interesting. I think when we talk about sacred sexuality and tantra, a lot of people would assume when they hear those words, oh, that means she's up for anything and it's a sexual free-for-all, she must be like such a whatever. But actually, and I'm going to ask you your own view on this, my experience is the deeper I've got into this, the more acutely aware I have become of what feels right and what feels wrong. And so my no is stronger than it ever has been, because there's a sense of now honoring what is right for this body and this being, and my body is the key to knowing that. So if there's any sense of numbing or disconnect, I can't know. So all kinds of things have happened to this body that, you know, were perhaps not honoring in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the challenges is that our society is so driven by the desire for more, basically, more stimulation, more action, more doing. And you know, we're at a point in time where this is in total overdrive. You know, people are working longer hours, they're on their devices all the time. there's such a pushing and striving energy, you know, and it feels like so many people, they're struggling to make a living. More and more is being demanded and asked of us, and it's kind of like, we've got to push to make it happen, just to keep up, just to stay on top of it all, it feels. And when we're in this really overstimulated state, we miss the sensitivity and the subtlety of life that's actually moving through us and wanting to be heard, that's wanting to guide us, that's wanting to show us the way. So, you know, it's like, yeah, we can talk about this in terms of sexuality, but even, you know, there's something deeper than this of our simple connection to life itself. For me, sexuality is a powerful portal to that, but ultimately it is about our awareness of existing in this earthly plane. And so, you know, I totally echo what you're saying, and that because of this striving, pushing, let's go for it kind of energy that we have in the world, in some areas of Tantra and sacred sexuality, people have then just taken the rocket fuel of our sexual energy, but still with the mindset of stimulation and kind of like, wow, let's go, you know. And then this is a place where people have overstretched themselves, overpushed themselves, gone over boundaries, and been left feeling in an unhealthy and unsatisfied place. Whereas for me, really, it's one of the invitations of this is to cultivate, it's like to slow down, you know, to slow everything right down so that we can actually cultivate the necessary sensitivity that we need to really be in the moment with one another, and to be noticing the subtle signs, the subtle cues of what feels right moment to moment, and where is that guiding us, where is it leading us. And sometimes it might lead us to a place where it seems like nothing is happening, to a space of silence or stillness, but that can be such a potent and powerful space to be in, way more than, yeah, we did this, we did that, you know, sort of, we did 20 positions and had 3 different kinds of orgasms, and you know, thinking about this, the sexual domain. It's like, what if we were just here, and in fact, on the outside nothing happened, but on the inside so much happened because we really honoured ourselves in the moment. It's like, that's the space that I feel personally really excited about, because I think it totally shifts so much of what we've been taught, so much of what we know about both sexuality and life itself, and it opens up so much potential within us to live in a, you know, completely different way.
Yummy. I noticed that you used the word subtle a lot there, and I love that because of the suggestion of the fineness of sensing that becomes possible. Oftentimes it takes a little bit of doing some de-armoring or sort of practices to re-inhabit, as you use the word, re-inhabit the body more fully, and the energy within and around the body also, to get to that level of sensing on such a fine and acute level. But that sort of touches on, I guess what I want to ask you about next is how the body is the meeting ground for the sacred and the sexual, and whether there's a connection there. I mean, I have a theory on that, obviously, but I'm going to ask you for yours. How the body is the meeting ground for the sacred and the sexual.
Yeah, let me just tune into that for a moment to feel like where is the place to start. I'm really fascinated by the area of the body that is the pelvis, and also the part of the body at the back, which in fact is called the sacrum. So if people are watching and listening and you've never connected with your sacrum before, it's basically a big kind of triangular bone which is at the base of the spine and the top of the coccyx, and it can be really nice just to feel that bone if you've never connected with it before. And for me, it's like the sacrum is this kind of meeting point between the earth below us, where we connect down to the ground through our legs and our feet, and we feel the earth. And then our spine, of course, which is starting to connect up towards the heavens. And in Tantra, the Kundalini energy, the life force energy, is said to be stored in this sacral area, and that when it is awakened, the twin serpents open up the channel of the spine and connect us above. So, of course, this is quite ancient and perhaps esoteric wisdom that maps out that connection and holds the body in a sacred space. But I guess the question really, or maybe where I want to explore next, is how we in ourselves can feel this as a lived reality. Because it's all very well to kind of have a theory of something, but how do we actually explore it within ourselves? And I would say that that women in particular, we do have quite a unique opportunity of connecting with this aliveness by connecting with our menstruation. So for me personally, I'm in the perimenopause, so I'm moving into a different phase of life. But it's interesting for me to notice that this awareness around really the sacred aspect of our cycle came quite late for me in life, at a point where I was already moving away from it. But of course, there's new awarenesses that come in the menopause. But for many women, we have a monthly opportunity to connect in with the amazing movement of life that is coming through us, whether we actually want to bring that into life as a creative aspect through children, or we approach it in a more energetic awareness. There is an opportunity to feel that connection of something which is both very earthy and embodied, but also incredibly mystical and mysterious also. And this is again one of the places where certainly in my lifetime and awareness, that connection to the body is, for the most part in mainstream culture, really denied to us. So as a young woman, coming into my first period, it was something that I longed for, because it was exciting to know that I was going to become a woman, in this sense that there was this sexual maturity that was coming in. But it was also really embarrassing. It was very much like, oh my God, is it happening? And I remember, telling my mum for the first time, I've got my period, and there was this excitement, but it was also like, look, you've got to keep it very private and hush. And it's kind of like, if your cycle started and you weren't prepared for it, and you needed to ask for a sanitary pad from somebody, it was like, oh, so hush. And if your bag was open, somebody saw that you were carrying these things, and it's like, when we think about it, the fact that about half the world, or let's say a third of the world, if we take the time of our life into consideration, bleeds on a monthly basis. why this huge sense of shame and hushed-hushness about it, and even squeamishness and taboo that comes from the blood. And actually, in older times, when we were more connected to the kind of natural experience of the body, let's call it, blood was considered a sacred fluid. So, as a sacred fluid, the life-giving aspect, the nourishment that is contained within it, was celebrated, and we have become cut off from that connection. So I would say that this is one place where there is an opportunity on a regular basis to actually start befriending that part of ourselves, giving space to notice it, to feel it, to be with it. You know, why do we put the blood in a tampon or a sanitary towel and kind of flush it away and get rid of it? You know, what if instead we collected it and used it to, certainly when I still bleed, I have a cup and I put it on my plants, you know, as a thing to nourish. I know other women who take their blood and use it to draw things, to put it in a creative way. And if you're listening to that and you're kind of going, oh my God, it's like, wow, here's a real opportunity to develop a different relationship to this and to see what is available within us in coming into a richer connection with ourselves that's you know, kind of showing up and inviting that awareness on a regular basis if we're willing to look at it and to see. It's gone slightly off perhaps on a different topic, but that was what came. Yeah, that was what came.
What came. Yeah. And I think it is really important to speak sort of in really practical, grounded, down to earth terms, because when, you know, often when we use the words like sacred and goddess, people can kind of zone out a bit and think, oh, that's also airy fairy. But actually, again, for me, the whole point of my work and sacred sexuality and tantra and priestessing, it's about the bringing together of, as you in your work also, heaven and earth, and it's a very embodied, grounded, lived sense of the divine in matter. And so talking, you know, you talked about the sacredness of our blood, our menstrual blood, and of course, in fact, I'm just going to reference this for anyone who's watching. You know, there's so many resources, but this book, Yoni Shakti, it's an amazing, amazing book by Uma Dinsmore-Tully, and she speaks about menstruation as just one of the female siddhis, which is a excuse me, a spiritual superpower, as it were. And what I love about that book is that it sort of invites women to reimagine and remember all the aspects of our bodies, beautiful, creative, unique gifts as spiritual powers. So the gift of menstruation, the gift of menopause, the gift of making love, the gift of orgasm, the gift of lactating, the gift of birthing, the gift of creating. So all of this is connected to the womb and the wisdom and the power of the womb, which again, you also spoke about the sacrum. For me, the womb is another part of the female body that connects us deeply. So not just through menstruation, because for anyone who's watching this who's perimenopausal or menopausal or not menstruating for whatever reason, you don't have to be menstruating to fully own and know the sacred within your body. But for me, there is an aspect of connecting more deeply in with the womb and all of its power and potential, all the womb space, even if you don't have a physical womb anymore. There can be the sense of the energetic womb there. And for me, that is one key gateway where there is the potential through both the natural bodily functions and secretions, as well as sort of a going within type of meditation, of accessing realms beyond the everyday, and accessing a sense of feminine wisdom beyond, that is not to do with the mind. Put it that way.
Yeah. I love that book also, and I really enjoy some of the meditations from it in the Yoga Nidra style. And actually there is there's one meditation in the body where there's two versions of it, and it connects with the energy of the yoni, the vulva. And in one version it's called the yoni, and in the other version she uses the word cunt. And this is the reclaiming of this word, which, you know, these days has become, you know, a term of abuse, a swear word, a disparagement. But really it speaks to an empowered, wise, feminine that's, you know, like, what, holding that space. You know, I mean, it's actually such a glorious word to say, but it's become a term of abuse. And this is, you know, just another example of where women have been cut off historically from their power, and the power that comes through the full ownership of the body. So it's quite fascinating sort of doing those meditations and noticing the different qualities that come through just that simple change of word. And yeah, the way we speak about ourselves, the way we speak about our body, and what this says about where we rest within ourselves, where we're looking out from.
Yes, and actually just that, and what you were saying just now about menstruation, I want to come back to that just in terms of that theme of the way that sort of cultural and social narrative of disgust, shame, squeamishness, for me is part of the discourse that is so endemic and that we buy into so much that we don't even realize it's become a part of us. But then because of that, it's so pervasive, we end up naturalizing this shame, judgment and squeamishness towards our blood, towards our bodies, towards the shape and size of our bodies. So that, just want to kind of really highlight that if you're not aware of it, and if something comes up when we talk about these things of coming, you know, squirting, bleeding, lactating, if there's any shame or judgment or repulsion that comes up, have a look at that. Have a look at where that comes from, and just inquire, is this really my belief?
Yeah.
And how is this keeping me separate from fully loving and inhabiting this body? So just to kind of look at that, look at what's happened, look at what's happening.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to share just a little story. That one time, this was a few years ago, when I was doing the Tantra Massage Training workshops with my then partner, and it was the female massage weekend when we were going to do yoni massage, and so I was going to receive the massage and he was giving it to me, and through this we're giving people the instructions. And because I'm in the perimenopause, it was very, you know, sometimes I would bleed, sometimes I didn't have such a clear sense of my cycle. And I guess also because that weekend we're working with the feminine energy, lo and behold, the day that we're due to do the demo, I started bleeding. And so we're having this discussion, like, well, what to do, you know? Shall we give the demo? I tuned in with my body. It's like, yeah, I feel really open to offering this. I feel like my body can receive the yoni massage. And, you know, it was such a big thing for the group to see a woman bleed and to receive a yoni massage. And of course, with also using coconut oil and the fluids of the body, by the time the demo is complete, there's blood all on my thighs and my belly, and it's, you know, kind of all smeared around and everything. And it was actually such a healing experience for many people in the group, especially the men. They were really in awe because they had just never seen a woman be natural about her blood and just allow things to be as they are without any shame or hiding or so on. So it just witnessing that had such a huge impact on people in the space.
Yes, I feel that. And
yeah, I've got goosebumps just recalling it. You know, it was an emotional experience for many people to see.
And sacred, like totally natural and incredibly sacred. I can almost feel the shimmering in the air of that, the quality of that gift. And on a practical level, I want to say that for a lot of women, bleeding time is when they're most horny and most wild in their lovemaking. So, you know, yeah. But yeah, it's not all just about the blood. There's a lot more.
Oh, to go to the breath.
I got to the breasts. There's a beautiful meditation in the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, one of the ancient tantric texts, which I'm sure you know, which speaks about the, I haven't got it in front of me, but sensing or the subtle or delicate configurations of energy around the breast area. So once again, that for me is another part of the body, personally, that I felt I was not a woman because I grew up with my dad constantly, like, you know, he was saying how there's this kind of this assumption you can make commentary. Well, whenever I sat down with my dad watching telly or we were out and about, he would constantly comment on how flat-chested women were. Well, she hasn't got much. She hasn't got much. Oh, she's flat as a pancake. And of course, there I am with small breasts. He's just like making all these comments about women. Well, they haven't got any, and no tits on her. That kind of comment, right? So I grew up thinking I was totally unsexy and inadequate as a woman because I had a small chest. And little did I know that the size of my breasts has nothing to do with the pleasure they can experience. It's completely irrelevant. Little did I know the size of my breast has nothing to do with whether I can nurture my children and breastfeed them or not. And little did I know how my breasts are connected to my heart chakra, which again is for me another part of how the sexual, the spiritual, and the body all interconnect. And the more this center has opened in me, the more sensation and energy there is in this part of my physical body, which of course isn't sort of a disparate unit. It's all connected to the whole of me. We're just, yeah, it's kind of all connected. But again, that and love and the connection between the breasts and the energy of love and compassion and almost this sense of being able to give love from this part of my body.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I had a really powerful experience with the breast, talking about it as a sort of transpersonal thing a few years ago, actually, when I was in Crete. And in Crete, the land there has really special energy, and the goddess of Crete, the ancient Minoan goddess, she is actually depicted with bare breasts. So all the images you see of her, she has bare breasts, and in her hands she holds these horns, which are said to represent uterus, actually. And I went to, there's a very special temple there in Lissos, and it's called the Asclepios. And Asclepios is almost like infirmary. Yeah, so it would have been a kind of ancient hospital, but it was also a temple. So there was a very strong link between our well-being and our spirituality. And they also worked in that place with sexuality, sexual energy. And in fact, it is a snake temple. So they had a snake pit there where they would take the healing venom and use it with people. So as I arrived at the temple, or in the place, it's all ruins, but you can walk through the ruins, and you begin quite low down, and it goes up in levels. So as I stood at the first steps, I took off my shoes, as one would do in the temple, and I offered a prayer. I said, "Show me, Goddess." That was my prayer. Show me, Goddess. And I walked around the ruins until it took me right into the main area beside the snake pit. And I felt guided to sit down. And I sat down and went into meditation. And I really felt the presence of her, just this essence of, she is the only way I can put it, moving in the space. And she guided me to reveal my breasts. So I'm sitting there, and there's other people around and some tourists with their cameras and everything. And I was really like, really? But okay, I do it. So I took off my top and I sat bare-breasted there. Again, went into my meditation. And then at another moment, she guided me, open your eyes. And as I did, another member of the group that I was with, she was opposite me. And she had also been in meditation, but she opened her eyes and we sat with one another gazing. And there was this like transmission coming through. And what I was being shown in that moment was that the breasts have become hypersexualized and therefore an object of shame, because they are this visual reminder, this visible representation of the creative power of women. And so as a way of cutting us off, again, from that power, from that creativity that moves through it, they become an object of sexualized gaze, and therefore women don't feel connected with the breasts anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it was so powerful, this message that came through. And so since then, I really started cultivating. I mean, I've always loved my breasts, actually, and kind of enjoy them, but starting to cultivate a more intimate relationship with the mystical aspects of the breasts, and really coming to understand them, not simply as some appendage of the body, but more like a transmitter of love that can both receive in messages and send out. And that's really what's come through my explorations, and it's something that I've brought a lot more into my work with women, to help more women really develop that relationship with themselves through the relationship of the breast, and really coming home into the heart through that.
Yeah. That's really, I don't even feel like speaking, but I'm going to keep speaking because people who are watching might not get this, but I just feel so moved. I can really feel everything that you've said here in the core of my heart, and the profundity of your experience in the temple. And the presence now of she.
Yeah. Yeah, and she wants to be heard, and she wants to guide us, to teach us, to show us, to enliven us. But so much of the time we don't give the space to hear her. And this for me actually is where, as we start listening to this voice and this wisdom of she, we also start coming into deeper connection with the earth herself. And I feel that this is another incredibly important theme when we speak about the sacred body, that we extend that awareness of the body to the earth herself, of which we are a part. And I feel that much of the relationship to women's bodies is reflected in our relationship to the earth, and how we've treated her, how we're taking and taking and taking and demanding and expecting that she will just always be there, giving us whatever we want and need without needing anything back. And it's brought us into a place of disharmony. And even greater than that, it's brought us into a place of endangerment of the continued existence of our species. And I feel that as we start coming back into more loving connection with ourselves, so we can really start to open our awareness into a loving connection with the earth again. I feel that much of the reason that people cannot see that care to the earth is because it's too much. It's too much and it's too far away. But if we can start with ourselves and actually start feeling and sensing our own bodies and coming into that place of connection, then it can open a space of potential within us to bring awareness also into relationship with the earth. Again, it's got to start here with that intimate connection with self, first of all.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for making that kind of grounding connection and conclusion, because that's it. That's like that's the calling for men and women to fully inhabit, love, feel, sense, own all that. Again, men and women have been disconnected from for centuries, and it's only that is creating, as you say, the disharmony, the dysfunction, the rape, plundering, the rape, the killing of the earth.
Yeah.
And that's only possible because of this disconnect from the body,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And the lack of, and starting with us right now. So that is like the perfect. I'm so grateful that came up. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's a big theme for me at the moment, and it feels to be very, very much in the field of, you know, where we are at this point in time and what we're starting to open our awareness to. And for me, there's such a danger that we can get very caught up in, you know, what we should be doing, what we have to be doing, and it can bring more divisiveness and separation or shutdown and confusion. But if we tenderly hold ourselves as we do this, and know that as we cultivate more sensitivity into ourselves, then this opens up a space where we can have more sensitivity to one another, more sensitivity to what is going on in the world, and actually feel empowered to be able to do something in this, because our bodies can start showing us the way, that we start making different choices about how we move through the world, how we engage with the world, because it's coming from a place of felt experience rather than an idea of what we must do. And when we move from a place of felt experience, it feels good to us to make good choices. Yeah. And then that is enjoyable, it's pleasurable, it's satisfying, it brings more connection, more fulfillment in life.
Yeah, well, no more disconnect, I suppose. Like once you feel that alignment that runs all the way through, it doesn't just cut off here, it's a whole different way of living and being. And again, it sort of all connects. I love the circularity of it through, like, I dance a lot, as you know, and I teach dance, and the Five Rhythms community here has been a really big part of the Extinction Rebellion demonstrations and campaigning here in London. And somebody said, it's a quote from somewhere, you know, dancing is a revolutionary act. And a lot was said there about how this pure act of dancing and being embodied is a part of this change. So it doesn't, I'm not saying everyone has to go off and dance, but just that awareness, that coming back into the body and dancing as one and meditating in movement in an embodied way, again, is part of that connection to body, to self, to other, to earth. So yeah, Gaia, we've spoken for an hour. And I feel like we could go on longer, but I think this is a good time and it's sort of a good point to bring this particular discussion to a conclusion. So I want to ask you to just kind of, for yourself, just say how people can reach you. We can post things underneath the video, obviously, so that they can see your links. But if people are now interested in what you do and your beautiful work, just say a bit about that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so the easiest place for people to find me is either through my Facebook page, which is Tantra Massage Training. It's very much it does what it says on the tin kind of environment, and also the website tantramassagetraining.co.uk. That's primarily for public workshops and events where we get in touch with the sacred that is within this body and discover how we can really honor ourselves and one another through tantric touch. If you're more interested in private work, exploring yourself as a sensual and sexual being, I also have my website, GayatriBeegan.com, where you can discover how to awaken your erotic nature. So for me, these themes of nature and the sacred and the body just all come together, and I love journeying with people to explore coming into that in an empowered, natural way within themselves.
Thank you, Gaia. I'm just going to say for myself that this theme is a big part of my Awakening Shakti work. So I teach an Awakening Shakti online course, and also offer one-to-ones for women around all of these themes. And it's also part of my Dancing the Goddess practice, which is one of my great passions too. So I'll post links about that underneath as well for anyone who's been watching and is curious. So yeah, just thank you so much for giving your time, your wisdom so generously.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Thank you, my love. Lots of love and blessings. And thank you everyone for watching. We will post comment. We'll look at any comments, and if there are any questions, we will answer them afterwards. Thank you. Yeah.
Big love.
Lots of love.
Bye.